God has brought you here for a reason. That stirring in your spirit, it's not some random feeling. It's divine, and you better believe it. This is a calling. The truth is, you didn't just stumble upon these words by chance. Heaven has a message for you, and it's urgent. You're being pulled into something much bigger than you can imagine. This moment. It's not just another moment in your day. It's a crossroads, and your response will decide whether you step into your purpose or miss the divine opportunity waiting at your feet. This message carries responsibility, purpose, and consequence, and you can't afford to ignore it. Responsibility because God is trusting you with a task that no one else can complete. Purpose because this isn't just some random assignment. It's a part of a bigger plan, one that stretches beyond your understanding. And consequence, because your decision right now isn't without weight. If you choose to turn away, you may miss the opportunity that was tailored specifically for you. But if you choose to step up, everything in your life can change, and so can the life of someone else. So, ask yourself, are you willing to carry the weight of this call? Because the stakes are higher than you think. You are being called to help a woman whose life is intertwined with yours by divine purpose. This is no accident. No random coincidence. Her breakthrough, her survival, her future. It's all connected to your obedience. God has orchestrated this moment with precision, and your action or inaction will determine the outcome. You might not even know who she is yet, but rest assured, God does. Her need is real. And right now, you are the answer she's been praying for. This isn't just about offering help. It's about fulfilling a divine mandate. Her life and your destiny have crossed paths for a reason, and this moment could unlock something greater than you can imagine. The question is, will you act? Will you answer the call that God has placed in your heart? God never forms random connections. Everything is by divine design. If you think this moment is just a coincidence, you're sorely mistaken. Every encounter, every relationship, every connection you've had in your life has been carefully orchestrated by God, and this woman's life is no different. You are not here by accident. You were brought into her life at the exact moment you needed to be, and her life was brought into yours for a reason that goes far beyond what you can understand right now. You may be asking, why me? Or why now? But let me make this clear. Divine timing is not up for negotiation. When God aligns two lives, it's not by chance. It's a heavenly assignment. You're being called to help at a time when everything you've experienced in your life has uniquely equipped you for this purpose. Every trial you've faced, every victory you've celebrated, and every setback you've endured has prepared you for this very moment. Think about the people in your life. How many of them have been placed there for a purpose you didn't fully understand at the time? Every person you've encountered, whether they've been a blessing or a challenge, has shaped you and brought you to this exact point. Nothing has been wasted. God is a master at weaving the threads of our lives together in ways that only He can see. And now that tapestry is about to reveal something bigger than you could ever imagine. And this woman, she's not a random stranger who just happens to need your help. She's part of God's plan for you. Her breakthrough, her survival, her future, all of it is tied to your obedience. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. God's plans for both of you intersect at this moment, and the choice you make right now will determine the course of the next chapter in both your lives. This isn't just about helping someone in need. This is about fulfilling your divine purpose. You've been prepared for this moment, whether you recognize it or not. And as much as God is using you to move in her life, He's also shaping you through this act of obedience. Don't minimize the significance of what's happening right now. What seems small or insignificant on the surface might be the very thing that unlocks your own destiny. So why now? Why you? Because God knew this was the moment you'd be ready. You may not feel fully equipped or ready, but God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. He is inviting you into this divine partnership, and obedience is the key. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1:5. That's not just some poetic line. That's a promise that God had already prepared you for this long before you knew what was coming. The divine connection you're feeling isn't a mistake. It's part of God's perfect timing, and He's waiting to see if you'll step into it. He's guiding you, nudging you, and positioning you exactly where you need to be. Will you act? Will you answer the call? Because this is your moment. This isn't just about you anymore. The moment you choose to act in obedience, you become a vessel of divine intervention. What you do next has the potential to change everything for someone else. Someone who might be standing on the edge of their own breakthrough, waiting for the smallest act of kindness, the slightest sign of help to shift the course of their life. You see, obedience isn't just an internal decision. It has external consequences. God doesn't ask us to move in isolation. He calls us to act because our actions ripple outward and touch lives in ways we can't fully grasp. What you do now may seem small in your eyes, but to someone else, it could be the very thing that saves them. Your willingness to step in and do what God is asking may be the lifeline they need. It might be the protection they're desperately praying for, or the breakthrough they've been waiting on in silence. Think about it. God, in His infinite wisdom, could do everything on His own. He doesn't need us to get things done. He chooses to work through us, through our obedience, to bring about the miracles He has planned. This isn't some random act of charity. This is a sacred partnership with God Himself. When we obey, we become the hands, the feet, and the voice of God in someone else's life. And let me remind you, it's not about us being perfect or having it all together. It's about being available. When we step into our role, we unlock doors that God has been waiting to open. Carry each other's burdens, And in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. Galatians 6-2. Your act of obedience is not just fulfilling a duty. It's fulfilling a divine command that has the power to change the trajectory of someone's entire existence. But let's get real for a moment. This is not easy. It may cost you something. It may inconvenience you. It may require a sacrifice you didn't anticipate. But isn't that the point of obedience? It's not about doing what's comfortable. It's about doing what God calls us to do, no matter the cost. Sometimes it's through that cost that God's greatest work is revealed. And in return, He does something in you too. He transforms you, strengthens you, and deepens your trust in His plan. So, will you answer the call? Will you step into that uncomfortable space and act in faith, knowing that your obedience isn't just impacting your life, but also paving the way for someone else's future? You have no idea what a difference your choice can make. Heaven is watching. God is waiting. And the moment to act is now. This might be the hardest part to swallow. You won't always have the clarity you crave. You might not understand why God is asking you to do something that doesn't make sense. You might feel confused, hesitant, or even scared. But let me tell you this. Heaven isn't confused. Heaven sees what you can't. God sees the bigger picture. He knows the end from the beginning. When God calls you to act, He doesn't always give you the full blueprint. Sometimes He only gives you one step, one moment, one act of obedience. And in those moments, it's easy to want to know the whole plan, the why, the how, the when. We're human, and we love to feel in control. But here's the truth. Obedience doesn't require understanding. It requires trust. When Abraham was called to leave everything he knew, he didn't have the full picture. God didn't lay out the entire plan for him. He simply said, "Go, and I will show you the way." Genesis 12:1. And Abraham went trusting that the God who called him was faithful to lead him every step of the way. So you don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know every detail. What you need is trust. Trust that the same God who brought you here knows exactly what He's doing. Trust that He's not asking you to step out for no reason. He's setting things in motion, and your obedience is the key that unlocks everything. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:8-9. You might not understand the full picture now, but that's okay. What matters is that you're obedient in the moment. When you step into that place of obedience, you step into the flow of God's plan. And when you trust Him, even without the full details, He will lead you through. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be willing. Remember, this isn't about your understanding. It's about His purpose. He's already ahead of you, preparing the way, and what you do next is part of the bigger plan. Heaven knows exactly what needs to happen, The question is, will you trust God enough to move even when you don't see the entire road ahead? Let that sink in for a moment. Compassion. True selfless compassion is powerful, but it's not enough to just feel it. Compassion must be acted upon. It's not about how much you care. It's about what you're willing to do with that care. Prayer is powerful, no doubt, but there are some doors in life that will never open through prayer alone. Sometimes, God is waiting on you to be the answer to your own prayer. This is where obedience comes in. It's easy to pray to say, God, I want to help, or Lord, bless this person, and leave it there. But God is asking for something more. He's asking you to move, to act, to be His hands and feet in the situation. Faith without works is dead. James 2:26. Your compassion, when paired with action, becomes the key that opens doors that prayer alone cannot. You may have prayed for a breakthrough, for guidance, or for divine intervention in someone's life. But here's the truth. God has a pattern of moving through people. He doesn't just drop miracles from the sky. He works through us to bring about His will. You are not a bystander in His plan. You are His partner, His chosen vessel to move mountains, unlock doors, and change lives. When you act on compassion, it's like you're stepping into God's divine flow. It's a partnership between your obedience and His power. Think about Jesus. He didn't just have compassion on the sick and the lost. He did something about it. He healed the sick. He fed the hungry. He washed the feet of His disciples. His compassion led to action. And through His actions, He unlocked the very doors to salvation. In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. James 2:17. Your faith, your compassion, and your obedience all come together to bring about the change that's needed in this world. It's not enough to just feel for someone. You need to act. Whether it's a simple word of encouragement, a helping hand, or a moment of sacrifice, what you do matters. Your obedience might be the catalyst someone needs for their breakthrough. And here's the powerful truth. In helping them, you're helping yourself. Your act of obedience unlocks more than just their freedom. It unlocks yours too. This is not just about helping someone in a moment of need. It's about being the bridge that connects their need to God's provision. When you act in obedience, you are the manifestation of God's answer to their prayer. And let me tell you, God is watching. He's watching to see if you'll take that step, even when it feels uncomfortable. He's waiting to see if you'll say yes to His call, even when it doesn't make sense. But remember, obedience isn't always easy. It will cost you something. Sometimes, it will cost your time. Sometimes, it will cost your comfort. But every act of obedience is a seed planted in the kingdom. And every seed you plant in faith will return bearing fruit, not just for you, but for everyone you've touched along the way. God is asking you to act. Are you ready to open those doors with the key of obedience? Because the doors that prayer alone can't unlock, your obedience can. This isn't about checking off a box or fulfilling some fleeting duty. When God calls you to act, it's never just about the person in front of you. It's about a much bigger purpose, a divine assignment that has eternal significance. You are not just fulfilling a need, you are walking in God's perfect plan, fulfilling a role that He has set aside for you long before you ever realized it. This moment is your divine purpose unfolding. It may seem small, or it might feel like an inconvenience, but in the grand scheme of God's kingdom, this is a critical piece of the puzzle. You are part of something much bigger than yourself. Your obedience today is shaping eternity. This isn't charity, it's destiny. It's you stepping into the very thing you were created for. When God places a calling on your life, He's not asking for a half-hearted response. He's calling you to be His hands and feet in this world, to move beyond comfort and convenience, and to answer the divine invitation He's placed on your heart. And while you may be focused on the immediate need in front of you, God is looking at the bigger picture, how your obedience will ripple out and impact lives in ways you may never see. Think about the great figures in the Bible who answered God's call. Moses wasn't just helping the Israelites. He was fulfilling a divine assignment that would reshape the course of history. Esther wasn't just saving her people. She was stepping into her purpose as God's appointed instrument to bring about salvation for her people. David wasn't just defeating a giant. He was preparing to become the king that would lead Israel into greatness. You may not see it now, but your obedience is part of a larger divine plan that only God fully understands. It's not just about this one person's need. It's about how God is using your faithfulness in this moment to fulfill His eternal purpose. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ephesians 2:10. Every step of obedience you take is an act of fulfilling the divine work God prepared for you before the foundations of the world. When you say yes to God, you are not just fulfilling someone else's need. You are stepping into your God-given role in His grand design. This is not a simple task. This is your divine assignment, a sacred calling that will shape not only the lives of those you touch, but your own destiny as well. So the question isn't just, will you help this person? It's, will you answer the call that God has placed on your life? Will you step into the divine assignment that has been prepared for you? This isn't just about one small act. It's about aligning your life with God's eternal purpose. And through that alignment, you are stepping into something that has eternal significance. Your obedience isn't just a favor to someone else. It is your role in God's divine plan unfolding. Let that sink in. God works through people. He doesn't just snap His fingers and make everything happen. He chooses to partner with us to accomplish His will on earth. And right now, He has chosen you. This isn't some random act. This isn't a coincidence. God has called you into His service, not because you're perfect, not because you have all the answers, but because you are the one He has appointed for this very moment. Think about it. God didn't need to use Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. He could have parted the Red Sea himself. He didn't need to use David to defeat Goliath. He could have sent angels to do the job. But instead, God chose people. He called them, equipped them, and then worked through them to bring about His will. And now, He's calling you. The same God who spoke through prophets, who raised up leaders, and who performed miracles is calling you to act in obedience because He knows that you are the vessel He has prepared for this moment. For we are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. 1 Corinthians 3:9. God is inviting you to join Him in His work. It's a partnership. He's chosen you to fulfill a part of His divine plan. Now, this doesn't mean that God is dependent on you to get things done. He could do it all on His own. But in His infinite wisdom and love, God has chosen to involve you. Why? Because He wants you to experience the joy of being used by Him. He wants you to see how your simple act of obedience can unlock miracles, bring breakthroughs, and change lives. Your obedience becomes the bridge that connects heaven's power with earth's need. It's not about your ability. It's about your availability. When you step into the role God has called you to, you're not just doing it for someone else. You're aligning yourself with God's will, becoming part of His heavenly plan, and that's powerful. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. You may feel inadequate. You may wonder if you're the right person for the job. But remember, this God has chosen you for a reason, and He will equip you with everything you need to fulfill His will. It's not about your strength, it's about His. But He said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Corinthians 12:9. It's in your weakness that God's power shines brightest. So don't hold back. Don't question whether you're the right person. You are the one God has chosen for this task, and He's prepared you for such a time as this. Will you step forward and embrace your calling? Will you allow God to work through you to fulfill His will in this world? The choice is yours. But remember, God has chosen you for a purpose that is far bigger than yourself. Destiny is often revealed through simple, quiet acts of compassion, not through dramatic moments. This is where most people miss it. They're waiting for some grand, explosive sign. They're looking for the lightning bolt, the thunderous revelation, the flashing lights to tell them, this is it. This is your moment. But God's plan doesn't usually unfold that way. More often than not, it's the small, seemingly insignificant acts of compassion that open the door to the greater destiny God has for you. It's easy to think that purpose comes in grand gestures, in the flashy moments when everyone is watching. But in reality, God's greatest purposes often begin in the quiet, unnoticed corners of life, in the moments no one else sees. When you step out in compassion for someone else, you step directly into God's will. Think about the story of Ruth. Her destiny didn't unfold through fame or recognition. It unfolded through her loyalty and quiet compassion for Naomi. Ruth didn't have a grand audience, no one applauded her. Yet her simple, humble act of obedience led her to becoming the great-grandmother of King David and part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. Her compassion wasn't dramatic, but it shifted history. She gave him a son, and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Ruth 4:18. A quiet, compassionate act of obedience led to a legacy that changed the world. David's story is the same. He wasn't on a battlefield looking for glory. He was simply doing what his father asked, delivering food to his brothers. That seemingly ordinary act placed him in the right place at the right time to defeat Goliath and step into his destiny as the future king of Israel. His destiny wasn't revealed through ambition or grand dreams, but through the humble service of caring for those around him. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Luke 16:10. So where are you looking for your destiny? Is it in the big moments, or is it in the quiet, unnoticed opportunities to step in and serve with compassion? Compassion isn't about fanfare, it's about heart. It's the willingness to go the extra mile for someone else to help, even when no one is watching, to serve when it feels inconvenient. And it's in those moments that destiny is born. You don't need a stage to step into your purpose. Your destiny is being shaped by what you do in the quiet moments. When you help someone without expecting recognition, when you step in to offer compassion, even when it's not easy, you are aligning yourself with God's will in ways you might never fully understand. God is watching how you move in the quiet. He's watching whether you're willing to serve, whether you're willing to help, whether you'll move with compassion, even when it's inconvenient. The small acts of kindness you extend today may seem insignificant in the moment, but they carry eternal weight. They are the building blocks of your destiny. The truth is, you are a vessel of destiny in the making. And often that destiny will be revealed in ways you least expect, not through the loud, public moments, but in the private acts of compassion you offer when no one is watching. Do not despise these small beginnings. Zechariah 4:10. These small beginnings are shaping you, preparing you for something bigger. So stop waiting for the dramatic moment to step into your purpose. Step into the quiet, ordinary moments of compassion, because it's there that God is revealing your destiny. Every small act of kindness is a step forward in His plan for your life. This is your moment. Don't miss it by looking for something bigger. The greater purpose is often hidden in the quiet acts of love and service you offer to others. What seems like an interruption may actually be a divine intersection. How many times have you looked at a situation, thought it was inconvenient, or even wished it would go away? You had your plans, your agenda, your rhythm, and suddenly something or someone showed up, uninvited, disruptive, maybe even frustrating. But what if what you're calling an interruption is actually a divine intersection? This is a truth that many people miss. God doesn't always operate on our schedule. He doesn't wait for us to feel ready or for everything to align perfectly. In fact, many of His greatest plans are set into motion through what seems like chaos. But in the midst of that disruption, God is often bringing you exactly where He needs you to be. Think about the story of the Good Samaritan. The Samaritan wasn't looking for someone to help. He wasn't planning to stop. But as he was on his way, he encountered a man in desperate need of help. This wasn't on his agenda. But God used what seemed like an inconvenience to bring about a moment of divine purpose. The Samaritan's compassion was not a random act. It was a divine intersection where God used His willingness to fulfill a greater plan. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. Luke 10:33. The same principle applies to your life. You might be rushing from one task to another, and then something or someone comes across your path. Maybe it feels like a delay, an obstacle, or even an inconvenience. But here's the thing: God is often working in the interruptions. Those moments that seem to throw off your plans might actually be the moments where God is calling you to act, to show compassion, to step into His purpose. Think about Paul's journey. When he was on his way to preach in one city, he was interrupted by a vision that led him to Macedonia instead. That moment wasn't just a detour. It was a divine intersection that changed the course of history. The people he encountered in Macedonia were ready for the gospel, and his obedience to the interruption led to a breakthrough in the early church. During the night, Paul had a vision of a man of Macedonia standing and begging him, "Come over to Macedonia and help us." Acts 16:9. God isn't just sending you out on random errands or asking you to do things just for the sake of it. Every interruption, every detour, every moment that feels like an inconvenience is a potential divine intersection. It's an invitation to step into His will and fulfill a part of the purpose He has prepared for you. What seems like an interruption may actually be the very moment God has been waiting for to move in your life and in the lives of others. When you begin to see life this way, you stop fighting against the interruptions. Instead of pushing them aside, you lean into them, asking God, "What do you want me to do here? How can I be your vessel in this moment?" Because in these moments, God is inviting you to step into something greater. Your willingness to embrace the interruption might just be the key to unlocking a divine opportunity. So, the next time something disrupts your day, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, could this be a divine intersection? Could this be the moment where my obedience connects me to God's greater plan? Don't miss it. What seems like an interruption might just be God's way of intersecting your life with His purpose. And when you answer that call, your obedience becomes the bridge that connects heaven's will with earth's need. We often expect destiny to show up in grand dramatic ways, with fireworks, applause, and a crowd of witnesses. But what if I told you that your greatest calling might not come in a moment of fame, but in the quiet, humble acts of service and obedience you make every day. Ruth and David are perfect examples of this profound truth. Destiny often unfolds through the smallest, simplest acts of obedience. Ruth didn't set out to change the world. She didn't plan to become part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. But she made the choice to stay loyal, to serve her mother-in-law, and to take a step of faith when everything around her seemed uncertain. Her destiny was hidden in the quiet act of loyalty. Ruth chose to serve when it wasn't easy. She worked hard in the fields, taking whatever was left behind, without knowing that her obedience would lead her to Boaz, a man who would marry her and whose bloodline would ultimately lead to the birth of King David. And from David's line came the Savior of the world. David, too, didn't start with a grand calling. He wasn't looking to become king. He wasn't standing on the battlefield with dreams of leading a nation. He was serving his family by tending to the sheep, quietly doing his job in the field. His destiny didn't start with a dramatic moment. It started with faithful, unnoticed service. When the prophet Samuel came to anoint the next king of Israel, David wasn't even in the room. He was out in the field. But his faithfulness in the small things was what set him apart, and it was his obedience in the quiet moments that eventually led him to defeat Goliath and rise to the throne. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart. Acts 13:22. Neither Ruth nor David were seeking recognition or trying to make a name for themselves. They were simply obedient in the small things, trusting that God would reveal his greater plan in his perfect timing, and God did. Their small acts of service and obedience turned into life-changing, world-shaping destiny. The same is true for you. You may feel like what you're doing doesn't matter. You may wonder if your small acts of kindness, your quiet service, or your seemingly insignificant choices are even noticed by anyone, especially by God. But let me tell you something. They matter more than you realize. Your obedience in the small things is laying the foundation for God's greater purpose in your life. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. Luke 16:10. What looks small, ordinary, and insignificant to the world is often the very thing that will unlock your destiny. God is watching how you handle the small things before He entrusts you with the big ones. Your willingness to serve quietly, to obey in the hidden moments, to do what's right when no one is watching. That's where your destiny begins to unfold. So don't despise the small beginnings. Don't underestimate the power of your obedience in this moment. You might not see it now, but just like Ruth and David, your quiet act of service may be the very key that unlocks a future beyond your wildest imagination. God is faithful. He sees your obedience, and He's using it to shape your destiny in ways you can't yet understand. Keep serving, keep obeying, keep trusting. Because in God's kingdom, the smallest acts of faithfulness are often the ones that bring the greatest reward. You're not waiting on God to start moving. He's already moving, and He's inviting you to be a part of it. This is not a request to sit back and watch. It's a call to participate in what He's already set in motion. This divine invitation is more than just an opportunity. It's a responsibility. Your response is not insignificant. It carries weight. Every yes you give, every step of obedience you take ripples out into the world and into eternity. Too often, we believe we're waiting on God to make a move. But the truth is, God has already been at work long before we ever realized. He's been preparing the path, positioning people, and orchestrating circumstances. And now, He's asking you to step into it, to respond. He's calling you to join Him in His kingdom work. Think about the story of Esther. She wasn't just called to sit back and watch God's plan unfold. God placed her in the palace for a reason, and when the moment came, He invited her to act. Her response to God's invitation wasn't just about saving her people, it was about stepping into her destiny. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther 4-14. Esther's obedience carried eternal weight. The entire fate of her people rested on her willingness to respond. God works through people. He doesn't just snap His fingers to make things happen. He uses us. And in His wisdom, He's chosen you to be part of His plan in this moment. The question is, will you respond? Will you say yes to what He's already doing, even if it's not the perfect time or it doesn't fit your plans? Your response matters because God has entrusted you with the opportunity to be part of His divine purpose. Your obedience becomes the catalyst that moves His plan forward. God doesn't need you to be perfect. He doesn't need you to have it all figured out. But He does need you to be willing. Here I am, send me. Isaiah 6:8. Your yes could unlock the breakthrough someone else has been waiting for. It could be the spark that ignites a chain reaction, a movement that shifts not only your life, but the lives of those around you. But here's the key: God won't force you to act. He's giving you the choice. Will you answer His invitation? Will you step into the role He's prepared for you? God is inviting you to respond, to step into His plan. And when you do, you align yourself with the purpose He's already laid out. But understand this: your response carries weight. It's not just about what you do, it's about what happens when you choose to partner with God. Your obedience has the potential to change lives. It might feel small or insignificant, but in God's economy, there's nothing small about it. Every act of obedience ripples outward, impacting lives and shaping history. So let me ask you, will you respond to God's call? Will you step into what He's already doing? The invitation is yours, and your response carries weight. A weight that can change the world. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The time is now. God is already at work, and He's asking you to join Him. Are you ready? You might be looking at your act of obedience and thinking, this is too small. No one will notice. It doesn't matter. But let me tell you something that will change the way you view your role in God's plan. Even the smallest act of obedience carries eternal weight. What seems insignificant in the moment is often the very thing that unlocks God's greater purpose. You don't need to be in the spotlight for your obedience to have power. God isn't measuring your faithfulness by the size of the task, but by your willingness to respond. Think of the widow who gave her 2 small coins. To the world, it seemed like nothing. But to Jesus, it was everything. Truly, I tell you, he said this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. Mark 12:43. Her small act of obedience, her simple offering, had eternal significance because it was done with a heart of surrender. It wasn't about the amount, it was about the heart behind the action. Your obedience, too, may feel insignificant in the moment. Maybe it's a quiet act of kindness when no one is looking. Maybe it's a decision to serve when it's inconvenient, or to give when you feel like you have nothing left to give. Maybe it's choosing to forgive, choosing to step out in faith, choosing to speak truth when it's uncomfortable. It may not seem grand to you, but to God, it's part of His eternal plan. The truth is, every act of obedience is a seed, and seeds don't always look impressive at first. They're small, hidden, sometimes forgotten. But when they're planted in good soil, they bear fruit. Your simple act of obedience, no matter how small, is planted in the soil of God's kingdom. And in due time, it will grow into something beautiful and eternal. Don't think for a second that your obedience is unnoticed by God. Every small step of faithfulness is shaping eternity. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Zechariah 4:10. What feels like a small act is a divine investment in the kingdom. You may not see the impact right now, but trust that your obedience is part of God's master plan, and it is contributing to something far greater than you can imagine. Just as David didn't know that his simple act of delivering food to his brothers would lead to defeating Goliath and becoming king, your obedience is part of a larger story that God is writing. Your obedience may not feel grand, but it's shaping your destiny and fulfilling God's purpose in ways you can't see yet. It's preparing you for something bigger, something eternal. So don't diminish the value of your small act of obedience. What feels like an ordinary moment could be the catalyst for a transformation that impacts generations. Your faithfulness, however small it may seem, has eternal significance. Keep walking in obedience, because God sees every step, and He is using them to build something eternal. And in His hands, nothing is wasted. We live in a world that is obsessed with impressing others. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting recognition, accolades, or validation from people. But when it comes to obedience to God, none of that matters. Obedience is not about how others perceive you, how grand your actions look, or how much applause you receive. It's about aligning your life with God's timing, His will, and His purpose, even when no one else understands. So many people are caught up in doing things for the sake of impressing the crowd, trying to prove their worth or to be seen as successful. But God's plan doesn't follow the world's standards. He is not impressed by outward appearances or by how loud you can proclaim your faith. What He cares about is your heart, and whether you are willing to move in step with His timing, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Think of Abraham. When God called him to leave everything he knew and go to a place He would later show him, Abraham didn't have the full picture. There were no promises of fame, wealth, or success, just a call to move in obedience to God's timing. Abraham didn't need to impress anyone. He simply needed to trust that God knew exactly where He was taking him. His obedience wasn't about showing off his faith. It was about trusting in God's plan, in God's timing. Or look at Mary, the mother of Jesus. When the angel appeared to her and told her she would give birth to the Savior of the world, it didn't come with fame or fortune. It came with social scandal, misunderstanding, and hardship. Her obedience wasn't about impressing people. It was about trusting God's timing and saying yes to His plan, no matter how difficult or misunderstood it would be. "I am the Lord's servant," Mary answered. "May your word to me be fulfilled." Luke 1:38. Obedience is a quiet act. It's moving in step with God's timing, even when it's inconvenient, when it doesn't make sense, or when it seems like the world isn't watching. To everything, there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. God works in His perfect timing, not ours. His timeline doesn't always align with our expectations, but it is always the right time. When we focus on pleasing God rather than impressing people, our lives begin to align with the perfect rhythm of God's plan. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove yourself, and you certainly don't need to do anything for the approval of others. You just need to be obedient in God's timing and in His way. This is the secret to true peace and fulfillment. Obedience to God at the right time in the right way is more powerful than any external validation. When you align yourself with God's timing, you step into the flow of His will, and you can trust that He will bring about what He has promised in your life at just the right time. Obedience is not about impressing others. It's about trusting God's perfect plan. So stop worrying about what others think. Focus on moving in step with God, even in the smallest things. Because in the end, God's timing is always the right timing, and that is what matters most. Every act of obedience shapes your heart and character. We often think of obedience as simply doing what we're told, but obedience is so much more than that. It is a process of transformation, a way in which God molds our hearts and refines our character. With every decision to follow God's call, whether big or small, you are being shaped into the person He designed you to be. Obedience is the tool God uses to purify you, to grow your faith, and to deepen your relationship with Him. Think about it. Every time you choose obedience, you choose to surrender your own desires, your comfort, and your understanding in order to follow God's leading. That surrender isn't easy. It often feels like a sacrifice, but God is using that sacrifice to shape your heart. Every time you say yes to His call, you are stepping into a process that refines your character and builds the qualities of Christ within you. Take, for example, the story of Abraham. When God asked Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, it wasn't just about the act of obedience itself. It was about the transformation that took place in Abraham's heart. Through this incredible test of faith, God was shaping Abraham's trust, his fear of the Lord, and his willingness to follow without question. Abraham's obedience in that moment didn't just serve God's plan, it refined him. And God saw that obedience as an act of righteousness. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Genesis 22:12. Obedience isn't always comfortable. In fact, it's often in the hardest moments of obedience that God does His deepest work in us. The times when we want to hold on to our plans, when we want to resist what God is asking, are the times when God is most powerfully shaping our hearts. It's in those moments that He teaches us patience, humility, and trust. For the Lord disciplines the one He loves, and He chastens everyone He accepts as His son. Hebrews 12:6. Think about the Apostle Paul. His life was radically changed, not just by his conversion on the road to Damascus, but by the obedience he demonstrated every day afterward. He faced persecution, beatings, and imprisonment, but his obedience to God's call shaped him into a leader of unmatched character. Through each trial, each act of obedience, Paul became more like Christ. I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. Philippians 3:14. His obedience wasn't just about the mission. It was about the transformation of his heart and soul. The beautiful thing about obedience is that it's not a one-time act. It's a lifestyle. Each time you choose to act in obedience, you're moving closer to the person God has called you to be. With every yes you give, God cultivates more of His character in you. You become more patient, more loving, more faithful. Your heart begins to look more like His, and you are shaped into a vessel He can use to bring His kingdom to earth. Every small act of obedience, whether it's forgiving someone who has wronged you, serving someone in need when you're exhausted, or stepping out in faith when you feel uncertain, is molding you into someone who reflects the love and power of Christ. And over time, these acts of obedience will lead you into a deeper intimacy with God. You will begin to recognize His voice more clearly, trust His leading more fully, and experience the joy that comes from walking in step with His will. So, don't overlook the power of obedience, even in the smallest things. Each decision shapes your character, forming you into the person God created you to be. It's not just about the task at hand. It's about the transformation God is doing in you through each step of obedience. And in the process, you'll find that your heart, once hardened by pride or fear, is softened by God's love, and your life becomes a powerful testimony of His grace and His faithfulness. Every act of obedience shapes your heart and character, and in God's hands, your life becomes a masterpiece of His divine design. Will you let Him shape you today? God is not just concerned with what you do on the outside. He cares deeply about your inner life. Your heart, your mind, and your spirit are just as important to Him as your actions. And here's the truth. God uses moments of obedience to refine your inner being, shaping your compassion, your discernment, and your ability to walk in His will with wisdom and grace. When God calls you to act in obedience, it's not just about the external task. It's about what He is doing in you in the process. Obedience is not just about achieving something in the world, but about allowing God to do something in your heart. He's using these moments to refine your compassion, to teach you how to love more deeply, and to increase your discernment so you can respond to life's challenges with the heart and mind of Christ. Take a moment to reflect. What does God want to cultivate in your heart through your obedience? Maybe He's trying to teach you compassion where you've been hard-hearted. Maybe He's calling you to develop a greater sense of discernment, to see situations and people with the clarity of His eyes. God isn't just looking at your actions. He's watching how you're being transformed. He wants to shape your inner life so that it reflects His nature. Think about how Jesus taught His disciples. He wasn't just giving them a set of instructions on what to do. He was shaping their hearts. He used moments of obedience to teach them about selflessness, forgiveness, and humility. He allowed them to witness His compassion for the hurting and His discernment in the face of opposition. Jesus was refining their hearts, teaching them how to respond to the world in ways that reflected God's love and truth. For the Lord sees not as man sees man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. God isn't just watching what you do. He's watching how you do it. Is it with a heart of compassion? Is it with discernment guided by His wisdom? Every act of obedience is an opportunity for God to shape your heart, to mold you into the image of His Son. Through these moments, He's refining your character, and He cares deeply about the condition of your inner life. Obedience in the small things often reveals what's in our hearts. It exposes our selfishness, our fear, and our pride, but it also provides space for God to refine us. Each time you obey God, uses that moment to bring more of His love, wisdom, and discernment into your life. He's not just asking you to act. He's inviting you into a deeper, more intimate relationship with Him. Through your obedience, He's shaping your heart to be more like His. Maybe you've been asked to love someone difficult or to step out in faith when you feel uncertain. These moments of obedience are God's tools for refining your compassion, teaching you to love without condition, to see others through His eyes, to offer grace when it's hard. Maybe He's calling you to make a decision that requires discernment, to trust Him for wisdom when you don't know the way forward. In those moments, God is sharpening your ability to hear His voice and follow His leading. Every act of obedience is a chance for God to refine your character. It's an opportunity to allow His love to break through your heart's defenses, to grow your capacity for compassion, and to deepen your discernment. Don't just focus on the outward task. Pay attention to what God is doing in you. What is He teaching you about yourself, about others, and about His will? God cares about your heart just as much as your actions, and He's using your obedience to make you more like Him. God is refining your compassion and discernment through every moment of obedience. Will you allow Him to shape you in this process? Will you trust Him to work in your heart, even when the task seems difficult or unclear? Because in the end, it's not just about what you do. It's about who you become in the process. And that, in God's eyes, is the most beautiful transformation of all. It's easy to have faith when everything is going according to plan. When life is smooth, when you have all the answers, when things are predictable, faith feels natural. But here's the truth. Faith is most powerfully formed and deepened in the moments of uncertainty, when you have no idea what's ahead, when the path is unclear, and when every step feels like a leap of faith. It's in these moments that faith becomes more than a belief. It becomes a choice. A choice to trust when you don't have all the answers, to move forward when you feel unsure, and to act in obedience even when the outcome is uncertain. Faith isn't just about what you believe. It's about how you act on what you believe. Faith deepens when you take that first step, even when you don't know what the next one looks like. Think about the story of Peter walking on the water. Jesus called him out of the boat, but Peter had to make the choice to step out. The moment he stepped out, his faith in Jesus was activated. But it wasn't just about the belief that Jesus could do miracles. It was about his action to move to trust and to step into the unknown. As long as his eyes were on Jesus, he walked confidently. But the moment he took his focus off Christ and saw the storm around him, he began to sink. Lord, save me. Matthew 14:30. Faith is always tested by action, and it's in those testing moments that our faith either grows or shrinks. Faith without works is dead. James 2:26. It's not enough to simply say, "I believe." Faith requires action. It requires us to move and trust, even when everything around us feels unstable. And here's the beautiful part. God uses the uncertainty to grow your faith. He allows you to face challenges, to step into the unknown, not because He wants to see you fail, but because He wants to see your faith in action. And through that, He wants to deepen your trust in Him. When life feels uncertain, we are given a choice. Will we trust God's plan, even when we can't see it? Will we act in faith, even when we feel like we're walking blind? That's when faith becomes powerful. It's in the uncertainty that you learn to rely on God, to trust His timing, and to act on His promises. You might not have all the answers, but what you do have is a God who is faithful and whose plan for you is good. The truth is, uncertainty is where faith is refined. For we live by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5-7. You may not be able to see the outcome, but trusting God in the unknown will lead you to a deeper, unshakable faith. It's when you take that first step in uncertainty that you begin to experience God's faithfulness in ways you never could if everything was clear and predictable. Consider the story of Abraham. God told him to leave everything he knew, to step into the unknown without giving him a map, a destination, or even an explanation. Abraham's faith was tested in the uncertainty, but he moved in action anyway. And through that obedience, God deepened his faith and blessed him with a promise that would impact generations. So Abram went as the Lord had told him. Genesis 12:4. Faith isn't just believing in God, it's trusting Him enough to move forward in obedience. And that trust grows as you walk in uncertainty, step by step, trusting that He will lead you and provide for you along the way. The more you act in trust, even when you don't have the full picture, the more your faith is refined and deepened. So, when uncertainty strikes, don't shrink back. Don't let fear take over. Take action in faith, trusting that God is with you every step of the way. As you act in faith, your trust in God will deepen, and you'll find that in the end, He is more than enough to carry you through. Faith deepens through action and trust, especially in times of uncertainty.